Srivatsangam Mahoraskam Vanamala Virajidam Shankachakradharam Devam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. I bow to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, who holds the conch and the discus in his hands, is adorned with a garland of beautiful wild flowers. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Atitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us be protected, let us be nourished, let our studies lead us to the highest, and let us study with great enthusiasm, and let us never have a need to quarrel with each other. Om, let there be peace, let there be peace, let there be peace. Peace in the society, peace in the world, and peace inside us. Hari Om, that's it. So happy to see all of you. And this today is actually our 11th class on the Udhhava Geeta. And I wonder if you all remember what was said last time. Just to see your memory, I will say that, see, all these, what is dharma and what is adharma, come under the moral laws. And this can change at any time. It changes with the time, it changes with the place you are in. For instance, some time ago, just about 10 years ago, you say that you are living with another person, it was considered very wrong. Now, in the West, it is a very commonplace thing that you are living with your partner. And again, you can see, in olden days, to have a surrogate mother to bear your baby because you can't be bothered, or you have some problem with your uterus, something like that. It's unheard of. But now it's commonplace. Everywhere you see things like that. So this is all very, what is dharma and what is adharma? When it comes to a plane of morality, then it's always changing. So now, for instance, he even says that drinking and taking drugs, it may not be so harmful to a man who's already morally very low. But to a man, if a man who is highly involved starts doing this, then the fall is higher for him. Because meaning to say, if you're already on the ground, you can't fall any further. But if you're already on a high elevated position, the fall is much worse for you. So the man who wants to evolve should slowly try to withdraw himself from the dualistic world of good and bad. Because in the dualistic world, good and bad always exist. And he should take to the pursuit of, and take to renunciation of this dualistic world. And to the extent that he can withdraw himself from this dualistic world, he can be considered free. Now, why does a person hanker? Why do we all hanker after sense enjoyments? Because we think that we will get some pleasure out of it. So, the more we hanker after them, the more we run after them, the more we get caught up in them, the more we are in this adharmic world of duality, where both are there, will be there. So, now the fact is, how do you get out of it? You can only get out of it slowly, by giving him something a little higher, so that he slowly learns to wean himself from that. That is why you find in the karma kanda, first of all, you given in the Vedas, first you have the Vedas all divided into the mantras, brahmanas, aranyakas, and Upanishads. Now, mantras are the highest, and they are, as you know, they are called Shruti. That means that which is heard by the rishis. So they are the basis, there's no doubt. But in the brahmanas, that is called the karma kanda portion, there they tell us how to do many yajnas and yagas and havans, with using different type of medicinal herb and different mantras by which you can rise up to higher levels of, to heavenly regions. That's what the Karma Kanda or the Brahmana portions, through the yajna, they take you to higher regions. That's what they say. So, they are really meant for such people who are already so delighted in this world. So, it gives them a little bit higher, this thing. And this world of delight is not the only thing. I can actually aspire for further delights in a higher realm of existence like heaven or even the Rishi Logas, Samta Logas, so many Logas we have. So, that is like giving children sweets so that we can give them slowly, we can give them some medicine which is bitter. So, the promises made by the Karma Kanda of the Vedas is only to encourage people who are already in abject inertia, already drowned in the delights of sensual delights of the world, and to make them rise up a little higher. They are not an end in itself. That's why even in the Gita, he denounces that Karma Kanda portion. He says, a Brahmin who has totally realized has as much use for the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas as a man has for a small well when the whole place is flooded with water. So he says that Karma Kanda portion, he says, only to allow people to realize that there are other delights other than the worldly delights which they love so much. So, but however, that such people, the Karma Kanda portion will never take you to me, he said, because I am the highest. He, as I told you, he is relating himself to that Brahman itself. And he says, to know me, you don't have to do all that. Because I am seated in your heart. You don't have to go through yajnas and yagas and rituals and this in order to know me. Because I am seated in your heart. By dhyana, by other types of sadhana. That is how you can know me, because I am inside you. Now, he comes to, this is a very important point. Somehow or other, this point is now ingrained to this thing. Everybody is shouting, oh, why are Kamakya, they're sacrificing animals. They forget that what about Eid is coming? How many thousands of goats are killed in the name of religion? That is not a crime, is it? Just because now and again they do some sacrifice of goats in Kamakya. It's a big hue and cry, because everything the Hindus do is as a hue and cry. Now, what is the Veda's opinion on it? What's Krishna's opinion on it? He said this animal sacrifice was first given in order to people, human beings have an inherent desire to eat meat. Somehow that is there, because from the ancient hunters, from the ancient hunting time, when they could only survive by killing animals. They were not farmers. They didn't know how to cultivate the land. So for survival itself, they had to hunt and kill animals and eat them. So from that time, there is a tendency, there's a desire for human beings to eat meat. So this killing of animals and sacrifices in certain temples to the goddess, it was given in order to confine the desire of people to eat meat to certain times and certain types of meat which had been offered or sacrificed to the goddess. So, it is not a commandment, you must understand. It's not a commandment that you have to kill animals and offer them to the Kali. This is not given. There was no commandment. This is only given to curb people's desire to eat animal flesh and curb it to some special occasions. Not doing here nowadays people can't eat a meal without 3 times a day they have some animal this thing. So in order to curb that and make it something as an offering to God and as a sacrifice to that, then that meat is in some way it is purified, and the animal also will be led to another higher state of the thing. So this is the reason. So it is not a commanded, it's only a permission given to those who love to eat meat to reduce their desire to specific time and eat the meat which has been only offered as a sacrifice. This must be understood. That is why you can all, fight against this big hue and cry nowadays, because again Hindus killing this thing in Kamakya and You forget. What about the thousands and millions of chickens and cows and we are slaughtered for everybody all over the world? This is done. Huh? And during Eid, how many Bakri and how many goats are sacrificed? All that is nothing. People just close their eye to that, and only they are interested in Hindus kill one goat somewhere in this thing, and that is a big hue and cry. So please understand this. Never at any time has Hinduism agreed to the sacrifice of animals just as a commandment. Never, never. It's only, as I said, those people who long to eat meat can reduce their desire to specific times to that meat which has been offered as a sacrifice. Without understanding this, people who are sensual and cruel by nature delight in organizing bloody sacrifices for inferior deities, mains and elementals. It is an outlet for the satisfaction of their cruel tendencies. It has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to make them something which is making them go to a higher state of life. Never, never that. And to assuage, there's only to assuage their desire, deep desire to eat meat. That is why it has nothing to do with the sacrifice of these goats at certain periods and certain times, which is meant to only to as a sort of as I said, to reduce the desire to certain other. And even that you have when you reach a higher state. In fact, you will find that most people who are doing deep sadhana, they just cannot even think about eating meat. This is a fact. You find that once you start sadhana, after some time you have a terribly aversion to even the sight or smell of meat or something like that. And the very thought that you're killing someone in order to enjoy it, how much enjoyment you get? 2 seconds. 2 seconds in your mouth and tongue. 2 seconds after it's done. And even that is because you're talking to someone, you even forget that. So in order to kill these animals who have every right to live out their life, as you have a right to live your life, to kill them and only to get that 2 seconds of pleasure for the human is a terrible sin. So there's only to curtail that, the sacrifice was allowed. Okay? So he says, they are dominated by the 3 gunas. Once you are in this, we are all in that Prakriti, which is Prakriti is the 3 gunas. And dominated by that, they will worship now all the Karmakanda, he's talking about the Karmakanda of the Vedas, the Brahmanas, they offer worship to Indra and other deities. But he said that they do not worship me, who am beyond the gunas. I am far beyond the gunas. So even the offerings made to, actually even when you make offerings to other deities, who are you offering? I am the Yajna Purusha. I am the Yajna Purusha. So, and I alone actually am the enjoyer, but their devotion is ineffective, because as far as their knowledge, that jnana is totally lacking, and without jnana, how can their devotion ever have a fruit? So the Vedas this is all concerning, how, because people mistake this, how the Vedas are different parts. The Vedas couched in indirect language and filled with riddles. It cannot be understood by anyone who simply, it's not something, a novel. Today I will read one chapter of the Vedas. You just can't do that. It's filled with all sorts of, uncertain languages, indirect language. He says that also has been done with my knowledge. It has only been done to tempt people who are only fit for such karmas. Most of many 90% of people are still, wallowing under the desire for something or other in the external world, and their minds are impure. They still desire, hanker after things. Otherwise, what will happen if such demarcations was not made for them in the Vedas? They would only wallow in tamas all the time. So in order to lift them up a little bit higher, these Vedic injunctions were made. Now speech, he's talking about speech. Speech has 4 parts: para, pashyanti, madhyama and vaikari. For us, speech, the vaikari or the gross sound which comes out now is the grossest form of speech, grossest. Before everything is there, para is that unheard sound. That thought is an unheard sound. which hardly, even the mind has not even hardly articulated. Next comes Pashyanti, when the idea becomes a little more formed. Then Madhyama, when it's expressed through the prana, and the mind accepts it, the mind understands it, and the grossest form of sound, which is Vaikari, which is a spoken word. The other three are inaudible. That's why when we say the mantras, people ask me, is it better to chant the mantras loudly? No. The more power it has, if it is chanted subtly inside. First of all, it is Madhyama, then Pashyanti, and then it goes into a stage of Para. Para means it is already joined with that cosmic sound. You understand? So the Vaikari is the grossest form. So mantra, usually when I advise someone to say mantra, they start with the gross sound, and slowly I tell them to reduce the sound, the volume, reduce until it is only a thought in the mind. And even then that thought is still Pashyanti. So that thought also goes, and there's a sort of a throb. It's only a throb somewhere we don't know. That is the most powerful part of that sound, part of that mantra. Because now, for instance, you may say, I'll give you a gross example. If you have a stone, say, you throw a stone at somebody, it will hit him and it may fall, isn't it? But if you take the atomic particles of that stone, or the atomic energy of matter, and you make a bomb out of it, it can devastate the whole countryside. But that atomic portion is very, 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 very subtle. That stone is just a gross thing which has been thrown. So, others are, the inaudible portion is known as Shabda Brahman. As I told you, it goes back into that Para. That is Parabrahma, or the Shabda Brahman. That is Brahman as sound, which is very difficult to understand. So that's why the mantra, usually we go inwards, until it is only a small throb in your mind and in your heart, and which, in case you have entered to that Shabda Brahman. Changes, that Shabda Brahman is changeless and unlimited, and it can only be heard, that sound can actually be heard only by what you call nada. Nada is like it pervades. Nada is pervading everything, because from the beginning, creation was made with the sound, which Westerners say the Big Bang theory. Creation was made with sound. For us, it's not a Big Bang, because everything is subtle. I told you the atomic principle of matter is more powerful than the actual gross matter. Similarly, for us, that subtle principle it comes from. That comes into this. That is where it comes. It doesn't come in from the Big Bang. And you use the instruments of mind, and we create all sorts of, the language is a very, very amazing thing. Language is something which we can't even imagine. Language is the mind. It is a evolution of that sound. In ancient days, people would have had no words. It's guttural sound, gur. The other day I saw someone who said, what do you call your, what's the name of your dog? And he said, he has no name. I just said, and he'll come. So that's the time when these ancients, the prehistoric ancestors, they had no names actually. They would just make sounds. But eventually the evolution of the word, different sounds like consonants, vowels, everything, but slowly which make the language that we use now. So, coming to Veda, like in the Veda you have certain meters. The Gayatri, for instance, we talk about Gayatri. Gayatri is actually a meter. A meter like it's with 24 letters. 3 lines of 8 letters each, 8 digits each. 3 lines. Tat Saviturvarenyam. Bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo na prachodayat. 8 syllables. 3 lines of 8 syllables. Altogether 24 letters. And there are other meters also. They are amazing. Sanskrit language is so amazing. It covered all types of sounds and all types of combinations, permutations of all these sounds. We have other meters. like the Ushnuk, Anushtup, Brihat, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagati, Adijagati, and Virat, etc. So many other types of combinations of sounds. These are actually combinations of Gayatri. Is actually a combination of sound. Okay. And now next we come from the from the Karma Kanda of the Vedas. We come to the Upasana Kanda, which is the Upasana Kanda is the Aranyakas. Aranyakas are the Upasana Kanda, in which the person, the Grihastashrami, who is finished with his Grihastashram, he reached over 50 years, and he thinks that now it is time for me to think of a higher life. And in that Aranyakas, the many things which the next step is the Grihastashami, and before the sannyas, Brahmacharya, Grihastashrama, Vanaprastha. The Vanaprastha. Third one is the Vanaprastha. The Vanaprastha, what Vanaprastha should do is described in the Aranyakas. Aranyaka portion of the Vedas, where he will, many things are said, how you should, so many things which you should do in order to get away slowly from the other thing. He said, even that is what I have myself prescribed. Eventually we come to the last portion of the Vedas, which is known as the Upanishad. That is known as the Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda of the Upanishad. And there, what has all been accepted in the other Kanda is denied in that. That also is myself. What do you mean he's denied? In the other things also we are asked to worship this and that and so many other things and do so many. In the Upanishads, what happens when the child goes to the Guru and asks that, the question he asks is, how can I know myself? How do I know myself? So then the teacher says that he describes how that Brahman and that Brahman, and he says that thou art, he tells us this, he tells him that, Shwetaketu, that means that which I'm saying, he'll do his finger like this. That which you're thinking of there is also this. There is no that. There is only this. There is nothing called, because you're talking about something which is, I know this is a very difficult portion of this Udhhava Geeta. Udhhava Geeta is actually a very high state it takes, because Uddhava was already in a very high state. And it is the second. Actually, I have taken many classes in Bhagavad Gita, only then I have been starting to Udhhava Geeta, and those who have listened to the Bhagavad Gita, they will understand how this is really a step forward. So, what is accepted in all the other kandas is denied in the Upanishad. Veda asserts that the existence of this universe is also my Maya. That Maya means it's a kind of an illusion. It does not exist. It does not exist. That universe which we have been using the things in this universe, using the flowers and this thing and so on and so forth, we are doing so many things all through life. Now when you come to the Upanishad portion, which is meant for the sannyasi, he says, this is all not necessary because I am inside you. When you realize that self in you, you will realize the whole universe. The microcosm is only, the macrocosm is only a reflection of the microcosm. Everything that you want to know and you want to see is in yourself. The world is only a projection of that internal self. So it's that when the jiva is taken through the manifestation, this is the manifestation, then it's taken to my actual state of Brahman. It denies the manifestation and completes its task. That's a strange thing. We are taken slowly through the manifestation. We cannot help but see it. We cannot help but be in the world. We cannot help but be drawn to the world. These are the beginning steps that we have to take in any type of sadhana. And eventually, in the Upanishads, it is said that manifestation which you see is nothing but my Maya. It is an illusion. It does not exist. And it's a great thing that these people, Krishna talked about is 5,000 years ago, which now quantum physics is thinking, realize that this world is a world of make-believe. It's something which does not exist. It exists because the mind exists. It is something which is made up by the mind. The mind alone is the source of all this. It's like, some children have nowadays, easier for us to understand because you have something called a metaverse, I think, metaverse. Now here we have a universe, but now there's a game called the metaverse. What is the metaverse? The metaverse, you wear headphones. Wear headphones. The moment you wear headphones, you are drawn into that particular universe. It's a metaverse. Where there are certain rules applying to that. You have certain rules. So in that, you have to follow the rules of that game. And if you don't follow the rules, you will get thrown out. So it is like that. The moment you take off the headphones, you are back in this, what you think is the actual world. Similarly is the case of us with putting on the headphones of the mind. We see this universe as something totally different from us, and from which we can grab some things. We can take this money, wealth, this, that, happiness, all things coming from this external world, not realizing that this world is actually in a way non-existent. Actually, what does quantum physics tell us? They say that matter is only the energy in motion. Matter which you think is solid matter, wood, this is a wooden background. That matter is not solid matter, it is only energy in motion. How can we understand this? How can we understand? But the ancients did understand. And to the enlightened soul who has gone above this matter, who has realized his own self, that self is only a projection of this whole universe, is a projection of my own self. Such a person can understand what the quantum physics is telling now. Other people, even now, though we might read these books on quantum physics, still we cannot understand what the scientists are talking about. Because we still think that matter is solid, and when we hit our head on a balloon, of course we get hurt. Why is that? Because when you are in that world, so long as you're wearing those headphones, all the rules of that game has to be followed by you. When you're playing that game of the metaverse, you have to follow those rules. If you don't follow the rules, you will be thrown out. You must try this game. It's a very interesting game. The children may have it now. So also in this world of solid matter which we think we are, if you don't follow the rules of the game, if I jump out of a 10-story house, naturally I'll hit the head and die. You understand? If I jump into a boat and say, oh, this is nothing is Maya, you won't survive. So while in this universe you have to follow. Now you find these great souls in our country, the rishis and the siddhas and so on, they could defy this. They could fly in the air. They could, there's very recently a person somewhere who could defy the force of fire. He was sitting happily in the midst of flames and he never got, some such scientists, Western scientists had come and taken photos of him. So these people could, they had taken off the headphones of their mind. So they were living in a different realm, not in this realm. So they can afford to defy the forces of nature. But we can't. So don't go jumping out of this thing and saying, oh, Mataji said this is all illusion, so I don't have to bother. No way. You have to bother with all this until you reach such a stage when these things don't bother you anymore. You understand? As long as you are engrossed in this world, as long as you want something from this world, as long as you need the world for your own existence, then how can you deny the world? So in the beginning, you have to accept that the world exists as we see it. You have to accept the world that hell and heaven exist. And so, because that is our experience. We have to accept it. Then having gone through that life, the Vedas take us to a higher realm in which nothing exists except that Brahman, Satchit Ananda, only then that exists. Okay? Now we come to the next chapter in which Udhhava's question is, He said, oh Krishna, he said, I hear there are many different, schools of philosophy, which says there are many categories, like many tattvas exist. And some say 29, some say 26, some say 25, and some say 5. What is your view on this, he said? How many tattvas actually exist? How many categories actually exist? See, so what Krishna, says a beautiful. Now, to give you an example of it, the basic tattvas which exist, which we all know, is the 5 elements. 5 elements. That is, starting from the subtle space, akasha, vayu, that is air, then agni or fire, then apas or water, and prithvi or earth. These 5 exist. These are 5 have to be there in the making of this cosmos. And these 5 also are the making of our body. Our bodies, as well as the whole universe, consists of these 5 elements. So, actually, the basic elements which everybody has to accept is as 5 elements exist. And because of this fact that these elements exist, they also, as I told you, they have their own spice, they have their own, some things in us which makes us experience that. For instance, what is the tanmatra of the akasha? Akasha's tanmatra is sound. Sound passes through akasha. And what is the sense organ we have for sound? The ear. Then you come to, that's the subtlest of all. Akasha will pervade everything. Everything will be there. So sound is always, which can be heard. Now next we come akasha, vayu. Vayu is air. Now air is little less subtle because we can feel air a little bit. We can feel it. So what is the tanmatra of vayu? Touch. And what is our sense organ for that? The skin. The skin is a sense organ for that. Now you come to even less subtle, more gross. That is next is fire. What is fire? When it comes to fire, we can actually see it. Akasha we cannot see. Vayu we cannot see, but we can touch. We can feel. Then Agni or fire we can actually see. It has a form. Even though flickering form, yet it has a form. So what is the sense organ in us? Which the eyes, of course. So the eyes are the sense organs which makes us the sight, this thing. Then next is apas or water. Water, what is the main essence of water? Taste. Without water, nothing will be tasty. You dried stuff all the time. What taste you will have? You must have water, isn't it? So what is the organ of taste in us? The tongue. Then comes finally Prithvi. Now Prithvi, what is the tanmatra? Is smell. And what is the organ of smell in us? The nose. So these 5 elements which make up the whole universe and make up our own body also. We have a proportionate of all elements in our body. Because of that, we can perceive, understand and experience the world. If I have no eyes, that much less I can experience the world. If I'm deaf, that much less I can experience the world. If my sense of taste is gone, that much less. So these 5 are combined with the senses which make up. So some people say we have 10 of these this thing. That's why. So first of all, actually, there are only the 5 tattvas or category, but they expand to more and more. Every different type of philosophy gives their own evaluation of the tattvas or the categories. So what does Krishna say? Krishna says actually all of them are correct, he says. Since they're all implicit in the other. They're all implicit in that, therefore they're all correct. It all depends, he says, as people look at things. It hardly makes any difference if you think there are only 5 tattvas, or if you think there are 20 tattvas, it makes no difference. But everything, all these things are included actually in my infinitude. They keep on, people keep on, arguing about all this because of the gunas in them. The permutation combination of the gunas in each one is what produces the differences which are only on the surface, he said. When the mind is controlled, when the mind is evolved, then these differences will automatically dissolve, because that mind will see only the one and not the duality or the manifestation. So those who declare there's some people who say there's a fundamental difference between the Jiva and the Ishvara. That is the Visishtadvaita. That Veda is what he has said. Visishtadvaita says there is a fundamental difference between the Jiva and the Ishvara, and that Jiva, the Atman, Jivatma, is under the spell of Maya from eternity, and he can never free himself from the spell unless some help is given by another center of intelligence, which is Ishvara. That is the theory of the Visishtadvaita. Ramanujacharya, he says that the Jiva is always under the spell of Maya, and therefore that Jiva means the Atman also. It cannot free himself from that. By himself he cannot free. Only with the help of the Ishvara. That is why that's the most Bhakta cult. Ramanujacharya says that only through Bhakti we can get away from the spell of the Maya. Now, only by approach in the magician. The magician has so many different types of magic. We are amazed at how many things he can produce doves from his hat. He can make a woman fly across the air. How can he doing it? It is amazing. We can see it. We can actually see it. How, if you want to know the secret of this magic, you have to go and apprentice yourself to the magician. You go behind the thing and say, please, please make me your apprentice. I want to learn. Then only you will read his secrets. Therefore, what Ramanujacharya says, that the Jiva has to apprentice himself to that Ishvara, to hang on to that Ishvara, because only the Ishvara can free him from this Maya. Now, others say there's no difference between Jiva and that's it. Advaitic, this thing, there's no difference between the Jiva and Ishvara. There's no difference between Atma and Brahman. That is the pure Advaitic form, which Shakracharya himself said. And what is it looks as if there is difference? How? Because the Jiva is hidden by a veil of ignorance, atnyana, ignorance. So the Guru comes and what does he do? He cannot give you something which you don't already possess. He will only remove that veil of ignorance in you, which has, and that allow that pure divinity in you, which is to shine through. He cannot put something in you which you don't already have. You already have it. He removes only the ignorance. So there is no difference between the Jiva and the Ishvara. Like there is say you have a mirror in your house. It's thick with scum, a very thick, so much of dirt and dust. And you have to rub it all. Then, and before you are rubbing, you could hardly see yourself. What is that? All sorts of things there. But you rub and it's totally clear. What do you see? Your full self. You realize that self is you. And that self was always you. It was always there, but hidden by that scum of ignorance. That's all. So the Guru takes away that ignorance and allows that self to come out, that jnana. So that jnana is the ignorance can only be abolished by jnana. Ajnana, which is can be taken away only by jnana. And that actually is a property of sattva guna, which is latent in Prakriti. Prakriti has all the three gunas. And Prakriti is a state of when there is no creation, Prakriti, there is a state of equilibrium of three gunas. Therefore, these three gunas belong to the Prakriti and not to the Atman. So the Atman can never be bound by them. He only imagines that he is bound by them. They are the cause of preservation, creation and dissolution. Because of when the thing of sattva is connected with intelligence and knowledge, Rajas is influenced by work, tamas with ignorance and inertia. And time is the Lord's power of time. The time, what we think of time, which we are bound by all the time. No, it's time. It's almost like, what's the time? 11:38. Another few minutes more, half an hour more. Now we are bound by this time. That time is actually again the Lord's power that causes imbalance in the gunas. That is called, because otherwise, when the gunas are in a state of equilibrium, there's no creation. There's no creation. When the pond is totally still, nothing can be seen. You put a stone into it, immediately ripple after ripple after ripple. There's a lot of excitement, as it were. So the Lord's power is time. It causes the imbalance. When the time comes, when the time is right, there is something, there's a ripple is concerned in that. And that, he says, comes from the Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva is a cosmic intelligence. Mahat Tattva is a cosmic intelligence, which is one of the first of the things that come out from Prakriti. From Brahman itself, but from Prakriti, that Mahat Tattva, that cosmic intelligence by which everything else is. And that our own intelligence, Buddhi, our Buddhi is a refraction of that cosmic intelligence. It's a refraction. And therefore, because it's a refraction, we can reach the source also. If it was totally different from that, we will never be able to understand. But because it's not totally different, it's only a refraction from that. And therefore, we are capable. Our intelligence is capable of understanding, intellectual understanding of what the Vedanta is saying. That the Jiva and the Atma and the Brahman are the same. We can intellectually at least understand this. If we were not connected to that Mahat Tattva, if we had no idea about some idea at least about it, we would never be able to understand it. We can understand because we are part of that. Our intelligence is only a refraction of that Mahat Tattva, or the cosmic intelligence, and it's an all-inclusive category. So he says, you can say people have identified these tattvas as 9. That is Purusha, Prakriti, Mahat Tattva, Ankara, 5 Tanmatras, and the 5 Tanmatras. That altogether makes 9. That is one set, that means the 5 senses, organs, plus Purusha, Prakriti and Mahat Tattva. Then 11, some people say tattvas are 11. That is the 5 indriyas perception, 5 indriyas of action. What are the 5 indriyas? The hand, the tongue, the feet, the organ of procreation, and the organ of elimination. These are the 5 elements, 5 organs of action, and the 5 organs of senses, which I've already said. And to the 5 gross elements corresponding to that, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apas and Prithvi. So, which are the objects of hearing, touch, sight, etc. These 5 forms of action, such as motion, speech, evacuation, sex and manual skills, are not really tattvas or categories, but functions of the organs of action. They are all functions only. So, at the time of creation, Prakriti has 2 states, the causal and the manifest state. Now, this is all taking you into very deep waters, but nowadays I find all of you are very interested in such things. You want to know how this creation is made. We cannot believe in what the Bible says. One fine day, Lord opened his eyes and he said, I will create, and he created. That we just can't believe that. So here the creation is very scientific actually. At the time of creation, there's one causal effect. That is, causal means everything which was already existing is always existing in that. I can give an example. Then that becomes manifest. That's the next stage, is manifestation. Now, during summer, terrible summer, we've had no water, we don't have everything, our beautiful garden dries up. The lawn is all nothing, all dried grass, nothing to be seen. It's a very sad state. The moment the first drops of rain comes, in time, mind you, time for the monsoon, time, it drops. Immediately, overnight, you'll see the whole place has become like, a moustache of a child who's just starting to grow a moustache. So a little green coming out. It was changed from brown to green. Where did it come from? Where did this green come from? Where did the grass come from? It didn't come from it. It was in a causal state, like Prakriti was, like creation was a causal state when nothing existed. But when the time comes, it becomes a manifested state. When that rain falls, when the monsoon time comes, the grass starts growing. This is activated by Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. This is what, that is, all three are necessary. These three are like Sattva, Rajas, and Tamasa. One is Rajas is activity, Tamas is inertia, and Sattva is that equilibrium, harmony. So these three are found in everything. This is what evolves into the manifest condition of this multifarious universe. At that time, in the causal state, it is just like suddenly when the time comes and the monsoon rainfall, grass grows, the little buds on the trees start going, birds start chirping and making their nest. A whole different world comes up at the time of spring, when after winter, when the rainfall and this happens. This is an amazing phenomenon which we take for granted. We don't even look at it. We don't even bother with this. But it's a beautiful thing to watch. If you are living anywhere in the nature, you will find what an amazing difference, all brown and horrible. And this, suddenly out of that, little flowers start flying, grass start growing. So that the time comes, so also he says, at that time, when the time comes, suddenly nature, Prakriti, out of that, the multifarious universe, which was in causal state, she suddenly manifests into a manifested state, into a multifarious universe. Now the Purusha, in that Sankhya philosophy, the Prakriti and Purusha, the two eternal principles, and the Purusha is the changeless, simply a witness. When that time, it is because of his look, he looks at it, and that is why the whole thing. So the object of jnana, when we give jnana to the person, you give the knowledge to a person, to make you understand that the Purusha is always changeless. In Advaita you call it the Brahman, and here also they do call it Brahman, but that Purusha is the changeless faculty. So in the Sankhya actually there are only two categories, Purusha and Prakriti. So as he says, it's immaterial. It's really immaterial whether number of categories, tattvas that people do. So all we have to do, Mahat Tattva is the first thing to evolve from Prakriti. That is the great intelligence, the cosmic intelligence that evolved from Prakriti first. And that it is the causeless cause of the world. Is the result of the Prakriti's equilibrium being disturbed. And I told you a pond is absolutely still, nothing to be seen, nothing. If you put one small stone in it, suddenly it becomes a ripple, and all sorts of things, waves and ripples and so on and so on. And this is what makes matter and material energy to expand. So Mahat Tattva is a shadow of pure consciousness, as I've been telling you, from where this is the source of that ego, false ego. It's a false ego of the living entity. That means from this is generated that idea that I am separate from the world. I am I, everything else is different. Everything is separate, I am here, I am separate. It is a junction of matter and spirit from where the false ego of the living entity is generated. It is a totality of material energy. It is known as, I told you, it's known as the cosmic intelligence. So the Mahat Tattva is potentized just by the gaze of the Purusha, he said. The Purusha looks at it and immediately there is a huge burst of energy and a burst of material things start happening. They combine to produce the Brahmanda, or the cosmic egg. Here we call this, what's the cosmic egg? And that will burst in like they say the Big Bang theory. So this, inside this cosmic shell or Brahmanda, everything is there inside. And how is it there? It was always there. It was always there. It's not that something new is created everything. Always the same old thing again and again. Just like we don't put new grass seeds every time. We don't have to put new flower seeds. We can, of course. But even if we don't do anything, when the time comes and the rain falls, immediately a whole big bunch of different type of flowers and grass and all sorts of things, buds and so on, start coming. Similarly, so this Brahmanda is the effect of the tattvas that are involved in it. You understand? So I know it's a bit thing. If you have any questions tomorrow, We have a Q&A tomorrow from 11 to 12, as you know. So you're most welcome to join that and ask your questions there. Now then comes the Hiranyagarbha Sutra in the Rig Veda. The Vayu Purana, Bhagavata Purana and Brahmanda Purana, they all mention the golden womb, the Hiranyagarbha or Brahmanda, it's a cosmic egg. That is, you can say it's a cosmic fetus, so cosmic embryo, fetus, floating in that, what the quantum physics say, the sea of, what do you call it? They have some word for it. He calls a field of pure energy, the field of pure energy, which again Krishna himself also calls it the field or the kshetra, actually. And there in that field, all these things can happen. That gives birth to into everything, even the principles of male, female, all these things, all these come under that cosmic egg. Now sometimes he says there is another school that holds the tattvas with four, that is water, fire, earth and the atman. Now this is a very, very simplified version of the tattvas. Many other classifications like 16, 13, 11, 9, Krishna says, or the purpose of all this, not to enumerate the categories or tattvas, but as to distinguish the fact that the Purusha is totally different from them. The tattvas are what is made of them. Purusha is different from them. Purusha, or through, he is totally actionless. Prakriti is the enzyme by which all these things are brought to action. So Udhhava says, "Oh Krishna, though Prakriti and Purusha are different in their attributes, it is difficult to distinguish them. They are always seen together. Because here, now you see a person. I'm made up of the Prakriti, the five elements, the five this thing, or so many things I have. But there is the Purusha, that divine spark is in me, that Atman is in me. If it was not in me, that prana is not in me, I would be a Shava. Because I have this in me, I can be called a Shiva or a Devi. Otherwise, I'd be nothing at all. You understand? So, though Purusha and Prakriti are always together, he says, very difficult to distinguish them. That is what we see. We look at a person, see that external form. We do not see the divinity which is seated in the body as the Atman. So, he tells, please enlighten me on this. So Krishna says, Prakriti and Purusha are separate. According to Sankhya, Prakriti and Purusha are separate. The body is only a series of changes. What is the body actually? It's a series of changes which is the result of the combination of the gunas. My Maya is what creates the differences in these objects. It's my Maya. As I told you, if you want to know how that the tricks of the magician, you have to catch hold of the magician himself and become his apprentice and learn from him, and then you will realize that that is all Maya. That what he was doing was nothing really. Neither the lady was cut. After cutting under this thing, you will see her coming out from outside. So it's all a Maya actually. That is the greatest. He is the greatest Maya. So all these things he says, all the different categories can be brought under three heads. That is Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika and Adi Bhaudika. Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika and Adi Bhaudika. What does it mean by? Again, we can go through it. These are all many different types of words and different types of methods of explaining the same old thing. But I'm just giving, this is how many schools of philosophy rose up in India in order to satisfy different type of people who wanted to know, give explanations of the universe in their own ways. So this is the thing. Adhyatmika is what pertains to the self or the Atman. Okay? So the Atman has to be there first of all. Adi Daivika is what pertains to the divinities, and Adi Bhaudika is what pertains to all creatures. Now, how can we realize it? Now, let us take an example. For example, the eye is the Adhyatmika. That means the eye is my organ. It's my organ. It belongs to me, Adhyatmika. The forms and colors which we see, all the different forms that we see, is called the Adibhuta. That is the world of which we see. That is Adibhuta. And what is this deity concerning here? We are allowed to see this Adi Buddha. We are allowed to see this because there's a deity known as the Adi Deva. And what is the Deva, Adi Deva in sight? The sun. Isn't it? Without the sun, the light of the sun, the eye cannot see. I mean, we're not talking about the electricity that we have created for ourselves, not electric things, but so these are like that every organ has. In the organ known as the eye is the Adhyatmika, the colors and the view, the things which are visible to us is known as the Adi Baudhika, external, and the Adi Deva is the sun, because without that we cannot see at all. So these three aspects of the eye organ, which is an organ of perception, the object of perception, the Devata or the deity, they're involved. Three factors are always involved in every one of these organs. Okay? The same trinity is found in different organs like hearing, touch, taste and smell. Each has its own presiding deity. Each organ can only function perfectly with the blessing of that deity concerned. So see how beautifully they connect everything in nature with ourselves. We cannot live without nature. It's not possible. We are so deeply connected to nature that we just forget. We think we can live on our TVs, on our WhatsApps, and our phones. It's not true. We have lost connection with that natural deities, the deities of nature. That is why we are unhappy creatures. Whatever we have, we are still unhappy because we have not connected with that nature. Now, however, he says, remember the Atman is independent of all these combinations, as well as the deities. Atman is not concerned to that. Atman is that witnessing principle, without which nothing of this can work. It is a foundation on which this change can occur. The changeless foundation on which this change can occur is that Atman. Like when you're watching the TV, the changeless foundation is they have a white screen behind. There's a white screen behind, isn't it? When you're watching a movie. On that, all the change takes place. Now, if that white screen was also moving, if the white screen was dark, this changes will not be noticed and will not be appreciated also. All these changes and beautiful sceneries and stuff and all the things we enjoy is only due to that changeless white screen, motionless, qualityless screen of that Atman, of that Brahman, which is in all of us. So Atman is independent of all this. It is Swayam Prakasha is what he says. It does not need the sun or anything for Prakash. Prakasha means enlightenment. It doesn't need anything. He's Swayam Prakasha. It's always luminous, self-conscious, always knows everything. Always knows everything. Only because we don't know everything. We are capable of knowing everything, but we don't really know everything because we have disconnected ourselves from that. We think we are only this sense object creature made out of 5 elements. Thus, the Atman is totally different from that body. So he's talking about Advaita, this thing. Now, what exactly causes this Atman to believe? Atman does not really believe, but the Jivatma which is involved in that, it believes that it's the body. What does it cause it? He says that is the Ahankara or ego, which is the cause of the delusive experience of diversity. The ego imagines this huge experience of diversity. And again, the ego also has the 3 aspects of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The gunas always follow wherever we are. And it is evolved from Mahatattva by the power of time, which is a principal factor which causes agitation in the gunas and the evolution of the category. So that ego also comes from the Mahatattva. That because without that ego, we cannot enjoy this which I say. That we cannot enjoy this. So that is why the ego. But the fact is that ego can only, if that ego connects itself to the cosmic ego, then it can enjoy things which are far away also. But because we think that ego is only a very small, little self-centered ego, we can only enjoy that which is immediately in front of us. So the Atman, and what is it causes? The whole thing is that the evolution or creation is set about by time. At a certain time, everything goes into dissolution. Just like every time everything goes into dissolution in us also. Every time in the night when you go to sleep, where is your world? Where is your world? Do you have any concept of the world when you go to sleep? No. The world does not exist for you until you wake up. Then suddenly everything comes into being, everything comes into this thing, and you realize that, oh, this is that and that. And again, and then that time ahankara or ego comes up. I want this, I do this. That is how every day we have a small laya. Just like the whole cosmos goes into laya, or just in a state of causal this thing where nothing, and then at a certain time it comes up. Similarly, we also have a laya every night when you go to sleep, and next morning when you wake up, back comes the world upon. See, Atma is a bulb of self-conscious evaluation that reads itself as well as all extraneous objects. So then, but people keep disputing as to what is real, what is unreal. So so long as people are in this small, low state of consciousness, all these differences are okay. It's correct. They all see only the differences. But just because, just like the dreamer. To the dreamer, the dream is very real. How long is it real? Until he wakes up. Just as the dreamer is the only reality. He can even shout and cry and laugh and sometimes in the dream because it's so real to him. But when he wakes up, he realizes that girl I married in the dream is not only a dream. I don't know her anything. So, and the dreaming disappears when he wakes up. So we will end with that today because, next Saturday he discusses about death, which I know all of you are very interested in. I hope this has been quite difficult. These matters are very difficult, but all of you are perfectly capable of understanding these things. I've realized that all you young people of Bharat today are highly, really filled with desire for knowledge, true knowledge, jnana. And that is why I'm so happy, I'm so grateful to all of you to coming and listening to this, because think of these things and understand that reality underlying all this, that is what is most important. That is what we have to catch up. Only then we will become super conscious. We can attain that state of super consciousness only by catching hold of that magician who has woven this magic world of duality for us. Hari Om. That's it. Tomorrow we have 11 to 12 Q&A. And if any of you want to come and ask questions, you are welcome. Today I never answer questions because otherwise we won't have time. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Vajrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. That's it. Loka Samastat Sugino Bhavantu. Loka Samastat Sugino Bhavantu. Loka Samastat Sugino Bhavantu. Hari Om. That's it.